Well, let's get more now. We're joined live by Ayo Johnson from London, who is the director of Viewpoint Africa. Ayo, so we're now seeing these worrying signs of lynch mobs operating in the CAR. Can we just remind our viewers why this is happening? Why are Muslims and Christians killing each other?
Well, Darren, this is a very sad situation. It happened last year when Bouzize, who was seen as a dictator, had lost the confidence of the people. He had a rebellion in his hands, and as a result of that rebellion, combined with so-called mercenaries from both the Sudan and the Chad, came about the Salaka movement. Now, the Salaka movement, through their leadership structure of Mr. Jutodia, was the first Muslim leader of that country. As a result, the wider Christian population felt victimized. They felt that the Salaka movement were against them, they didn't trust them, they thought that their actions were very aggressive. And in return, we had a Christian militia that came out as a result of that, that carried out a tit-for-tat violence against Muslims in reaction. And what we have over time is a sectarian violence for which has not been able to be contained by Mr. Jutodia himself, which led to his demise, leaving government. And ultimately, the French troops that came on the ground, supported by African-led contingency, were unable to do so as well. And so Mrs. Samba-Panza has a huge task on her hands to be able to resolve this on her own without the international community's support, which she needs desperately right now.
Yeah, you talk about the international community there, Ayo. I mean, the UN's warned there's a risk that the CAR could become the next Rwanda with another genocide. Are we already seeing those warning signs? Could this actually happen?
Well, we are really at a crossroads. We're close to that red line whereby the point of no return, because the violence doesn't seem to be able to be stopped. The communities do not seem to be heeding the warnings. Both communities, Christians and Muslims, are victims themselves, because the majority of these are being carried out by gangs, smaller groups, and in turn, the wider population lives in fear. So there is a worry that Rwanda, for what we saw in 1994, can truly become a reality in Central African Republic, which would ultimately hijack their own democracy, their own future, and very much their own semblance of importance in the world as we see it now.
A final question, Ayo, on Catherine Samba-Panza. She says she's confident she'll be able to bring about reconciliation between Christians and Muslims, but is she sufficiently political neutral to bring about peace?
Well, Samba-Panza, she's a politician with some depth. She's already a former mayor, of course, now the leader of a country. She's the first female president, but she has a lot of problems. She's taking over a country with very little infrastructure. She's taking over a country which is synonymous with corruption. She's taking over a country which has many issues that's going to be dependent on aid and very much dependent on soldiers to be a buffer zone, which is why we have nearly 1,000 European troops coming on the ground to help the French, who are desperate right now to be able to stem the violence. So her own success will be dependent on the international support she gets right now.
Ayo Johnson, thank you.